Hi everyone, it's Parul here, your usual host. Today, I've got another episode of very interesting and very powerful message from my guest, Shada Francis. Shada joining from all the way from South Africa. Welcome on board, Shada, and thank you very much for your time. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Hi. Thank you so much, Pero, for having me here. I mean, it's quite an opportunity to be on your channel, your YouTube channel. Yes.
Thank
Mm,
you. Now,
yeah.
a bit about Shada, and I want you to hear from her as well. So, she's an international educator, a coach, a leader, and a philanthropist. Shada got vast experience on a lot of number of things, as a coach, as an educator, doing a lot of stuff along the around the globe, not just being in her home country. She's been to other countries supporting people. So what I want you to is hear directly from Shada herself a bit about her journey and what she does. Shada, what do you can you please tell us a bit about you and your journey and what you do now?
Thank you so much for allowing me to share the journey. Yeah, what I do now, I'll go to the end. Right now, I'm a life coach, transformational life coach. But my journey started in 2005 when, just after my divorce. I have to stress that it was a happy divorce, right? And I had to have that. And it was only after my divorce that I found myself, my true identity to who I really was. And at that stage, I decided to take a break, a sabbatical break, and go away to Hong Kong. And I went there for 6 months to Hong Kong and China. And at that stage, I really found who I really was as a person, not a mom, not anybody else, but just me. And I went as a single mom with Amy with me. And it was during that time, I had to do a lot of self-reflection and amplifying my own voice this time, not being the person to amplify other people. And I think during that 6 months, it was really an eye opener for me. And while I was there, I took on a job, and the good news was the contract was extended. I came back to South Africa and sold everything and gave most of my things away. And when I say this, people find it so hard to believe that I literally, within 2 weeks, packed everything and went off. Amy and I went to a new country, started a new life in Shanghai, where I couldn't speak the language, started a new career. When most people are trying to get ready for the golden years, I was getting into a new career. And this is why I always say, follow your own dreams, understand who you are. And during that time, I was able to go into the workspace again, and I took on jobs in the education sector. I started a life all over again from the basic necessities, starting everything, going to a place like where people couldn't speak and understand you. And it was at that stage I realized, I had to tap into myself. I've come this far, I've got to make it happen. And over there, while I was there, I also started working with different organizations that were helping people who had the same problem that I had before I came there. And that helped me to minimize my own issues. And I worked in many organizations in the education sector and in the private sector and with corporate companies. And this is where I learned to understand me as a leader. How do I lead? And what are some of the insecurities that I had with myself? And while working with this and going through this, I found that there was a lot of things that I still had to work with or work on in myself. And while working on, and that's when I decided to take on coaches to help me. And I always tell people, the journey that you're going through, sometimes we can't do it alone. We may have to get other people to support us, to help us on the journey, but whatever it takes, do it. And yes, I spent a lot of money on it, but every cent was worth it. So during the time I was there, I moved on to various different positions, becoming the head of schools, head of organizations, started off as a teacher, and then become the director of education. Continued to work with corporate companies in leadership roles. And I also started my own NGO, working with women and children, teaching them life skills in countries like Nepal, India, and Cambodia, and in China. So that was the journey that I had there. But I think the most important thing during that journey was for me to understand who I was as a person, my own, we all have our own thumbprints and we can't give it to somebody else because it won't work. And every time we give ourselves to someone else, we're actually chipping away ourselves. So I had to find all those little chips that make myself whole again. So that was my journey there. And I would say every step of the way during that journey, I had someone, God or the divine or the universe, was sending to me to help me every step of the way. And for me, that journey still continues now that I'm back in South Africa too.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you very much for sharing all the points in your journey. I think a couple of points you really kind of like hit on. You have to have that desire, and you had that desire and you left everything what you had and you started from scratch, not knowing the language, not knowing, going to a complete strange country, living or giving away all your belonging, and I had to start from scratch is not an easy job, and as a single mother is more tough, and you've done it. And I think that's an amazing story to share, because I'm sure that your story will inspire other women who's going through or who've been through that but still stuck in the mindset kind of like. So I think definitely we have to have a desire. So that led me to asking a question about, obviously you now a coach, you help others. What you talked about your journey. What made you to specifically become a coach, and why you decided to help others?
Great question, Peru. What made me become a coach? Okay. I saw the transformation in my own life. I wasn't perfect on the first leg of my journey. And this is what I realized. I realized that there was a lot of things that I held in my own internally that I had to now work through. And working with my coaches, they lovingly showed me where I was in my own life and what I had to get rid of. And when they took me through these emotional healing and tapping into myself inwardly, not only outwardly, I found there was a lot of unforgiveness, insecurities, not feeling good enough. And these were hindering my progress. For me to progress to the fullest, my full potential, and to reach the goals that I'm setting out now to reach, I had to work within myself to make sure I was clearing all those blockages in me. So I never worked with one coach. I worked with over 3 different coaches, right? And each one had a different technique or tool. And I worked with all of them, sometimes all 3 at one time. And I must explain that each one was able to walk that walk with me and teach me how to walk that walk. I began taking baby steps to get myself right. And at the end of that journey, I saw who I became. I can look back and say, I'm thankful for that journey. I don't want the journey to finish, but I've come to become a different person in so many aspects of my life. And seeing the transformation in my life, and then taking that same transformation that was used on me, on the people that I was working with in the workplace, seeing the transformation in their lives, is that what made me now to become a transformational coach and more towards the leadership coaches.
Thank you, Shada. Now, great point. I think one of the things you mentioned, you need to work with somebody. You need someone to help you. Sometimes you cannot do alone to reach your goal. And you talk about, having to work with a number of coaches. Same here. I have different type of coach for different thing, and I've always learned something from new coaches. It's really essential to seek help when you are stuck, because they will hold your hand, help you to take the baby step and get to where you are now, and where you want to get to. So really, really important point you've raised here. um you talked about leadership, and I want to go to that question now. As a self leader, as an experienced coach and transformational coach, can you please share with our audience your top tips how to be a self leader, and keep yourself motivated in that level?
Yeah, I like that. There's so many different types of leadership all over. You find leadership. But for me, what worked very well and still works that I share with people and work for them, number one, understand who you are as a person. And why am I in this role? And what am I leading? Who am I leading? Number one. And the next one is always understand, like, what are my values? You see, you have foundational values. They all have foundation. What are my foundation values? Are they aligning to where I'm going and to the people I'm working with, company? And that's very, very important when you know your values. And also in the workplace, you need to know your boundaries. When do I say yes and when do I say no? In the workplace, right? It's not only about being strong and being able to show authority. No, your strength comes from you, and when you have your boundaries and you know your values. And what are my insecurities? I always tell people, this is one tip I'd like people to take home from here. Understand your insecurities. Because our insecurities, if we haven't helped ourselves to grow from those insecurities and heal from them, it shows up in our leadership, how we lead each other. And this is a message I'd love to give women if they're listening to this program, is women if they're leading wherever. This is Women's Month coming up soon. If we have insecurities and we're leading other women and other people, work on your insecurities, because this plays out negatively as well as leaders, right? And that's one of the things I'd love to say. And whatever you do, make sure you're doing it to help someone else to show the best. So for me, I always want to be the best in what I do. So I try to be the best. Every day I'm working towards it. So when I show up at my best as a leader, the people around me show up at their best. It has a ripple effect, right? It's very important because at the end of the day, if you do that continuously, you want to bring the best out in the people around you, And I believe that everyone that we work with has leadership qualities in whatever way. So if you're leading in a company, you're leading it wherever, because if you're leading people, always showing that they have potential and they can believe in themselves, right? And imagine if they go back home, they take that nugget and share with their families, with their spouses, with their children, and they show up at their best. Kids go out to school. So that leadership you have is so important. That role is so important. We can break or make people. So for me, make sure you show up at your best, look at the best in people, and look at the potential that other people have and build them, because that's what good leaders will do.
Thank you, Shada. Great point. Look at best on people. I think when you look at best on people, you see you encourage people to grow, not just grow yourself. Fantastic. Now we're coming towards the end of our conversation. I want to ask you, the last question is, if you were to leave one thoughts with our audience, what that would be?
Okay, that's so easy and simple for me. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself no matter what. No matter what, how difficult it is, no matter you're giving up, whatever it is, just believe that you can take that other step. You can make it happen. I have had hair-raising situations, and I know just tapping into myself, because when we believe in ourselves and we contemplate and ask ourselves that, what is it I have to do? How do I do it? You find the answers. And it's my one word is believe, 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 believe.
Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely. Believing in ourselves, having faith in ourselves definitely will take us to wherever we want to go. Thank you. And thank you very much for your time today, Shada.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And to audience, please do like and share our videos. You never know what top tips would help somebody else. So please do share with your friends, your colleagues, like our YouTube channel, and also subscribe to it, because when you subscribe, you get alert. And, we bring this kind of episode quite often. So you will see there's lots of videos for you to listen and take away some nuggets. So thank you for watching, and thank you very much, Shada, for your time.
Thank you.